Luigi Sinapi. He's the director of the Istituto Idrografico della Marina in Genova, Italy. He was commander of a hydrographic vessel, the staff officer of NATO Naval Command in Naples, participated in the 11th Italian expedition to Antarctica, and he won medals, lots of medals, NATO medals, and he has a great knowledge in so many areas: physics, geomatics, maritime and naval sciences, diplomatic and international governance, also strategic and military studies, and he's, by formation, a hydrographer engineer. Also, he has important tasks as chairman of the Mediterranean and Black Sea Hydrographic Commission, and also chairman of the Hydrographic Services Committee and Boundaries Committee. Thank you very much. Please come up.
So thank you very much. And first of all, I would like to thank CIESM, its president, His Serene Highness Prince Albert, and Professor Frederick Briand for this invitation to participate to this Congress. And it's a privilege to me to make this presentation in the panel dedicated to the marine exploration and new science frontier. Also on behalf of the International Hydrographic Organization, which I represent here today. Explore the unknown has always been something fascinating since the dawn of time, as we have already watched in the beautiful videos from my predecessor. And the aim of my presentation, as you can read on the slide, is to link the Magellan Marine Expedition to the present marine challenges, with particular reference to the exploration of new cartographic frontier. Being the only one military in this Congress and having a military attitude, I want to start the presentation with a short agenda just to make you follow during my speech, because after lunchtime it's particularly difficult and hard to follow someone speaking. So I will start from a bit of history, but just a bit, because we had a beautiful presentation from my predecessor. Marine knowledge and the role of hydrography at the International Hydrographic Organization, the new international universal hydrographic data model, which will change completely the way to represent the information data at sea, the S100, and some concluding remarks. So, as the era known as the Age of Exploration, sometimes called the Age of Discovery, officially began in the early 15th century and lasted through the 17th century. The period is characterized as a time when Europeans began exploring the world by sea, in search of new trading routes, wealth, and knowledge. The impact of this era would permanently alter the world and transform geography into the modern science it is today. The first of the journeys associated with the Age of Discovery were conducted by the Portuguese. Although the Portuguese, Spanish, Italians, and others had been plying the Mediterranean for generations, most sailors kept well within sight of land or traveled known routes between ports. It was Prince Henry the Navigator and other Portuguese changing that, encouraging explorers to sail beyond the mapped routes and discover new trade routes to West Africa. Another important sailor, Christopher Columbus, decided to give a great incitement to discover with that sentence: you can never cross the ocean unless you have the courage to lose sight of the shore. So prior to this expedition, navigators had used traditional portolan charts, which were based on coastlines and ports of call, keeping sailors close to shore. On this regard, the Cantino Planisphere, or Cantino World Map, also present in the exhibition here, is the earliest surviving map showing Portuguese geographic discoveries in the east and west. It is named after Alberto Cantino, an agent for the Duke of Ferrara. And the Cantino planisphere is the earliest extant example of the so-called latitude chart, which was developed following the introduction of astronomical navigation during the second half of the 15th century. It contains unique historical information about the maritime exploration and the evolution of nautical cartography. But during the age of exploration, all countries interested in trade and discovery created and maintained their own world charts. Here there is another example, the Padrón Real, or the Royal Standard, the secret Spanish master map of the world in the 16th century, that was maintained, updated by the sailors returning to Spain with information about latitudes, longitudes, new lands, and discoveries. And this map was a secret, a state secret of highest order, and its disclosure was punishable by death. But among all the journeys of the age of exploration, one above all changed the world navigation forever. It was the Magellan journey. And the journey was anything but smooth sailing. Magellan dealt with shipwrecks, mutiny, and conflict with indigenous people. He was killed during such a conflict in the Philippines in 1521. And the longest and most valuable narrative of the voyage was written not by a professional seaman, but by a young Italian, Antonio Pigafetta, who joined the expedition as a volunteer in the flagship Trinidad when she sailed and was aboard the Victoria when she berthed in 1522. This manuscript volume dating from around 1525, my predecessor doesn't know where it is, but he can imagine that it is hidden in a place in Italy, but not an Italian place, as we discussed before. And then he will discover the secret. And this manuscript, dating from around 1525, details Magellan's voyage around the world. And Pigafetta's surviving journal is the source for much of what is known about Magellan's discoveries. Thanks to Pigafetta's journal, we know about the Strait of Magellan discovery. Here is an illustration from the journal of the expedition that testifies the great challenge faced by Magellan and its crew. On the right side, there is the satellite image that gives an idea, for those who don't know, of the complexity of the navigation in the area. That's testified also by a part of the journal of Pigafetta on the left side of the slide. But the age of exploration served as a stepping stone for hydrographic knowledge, and now I'm jumping in the second part of my presentation. It allowed more people to see and study various areas around the world, which increased geographic study, giving us the basis for much of the knowledge we have today. In the 500 years since Magellan, humankind has found new ways to circle the globe, and the exploration is still going on. And after 500 years, the same careful attitude in describing the marine environment, the Cantino map, we saw the Cantino map, the Padrón Real, providing differentiate and accurate information to the mariners, animate the work of the International Hydrographic Organization, and more in general, the maritime community. Today, as in the past, we are not just using the sea for navigation, but also for many other applications, such as exploration, exploitation, fishing, tourism, scientific research. On the other hand, we are trying to balance the use of the sea with its preservation, trying to reach a balance for a sustainable blue growth, as we are discussing here in this Congress too. And the hydrographic community is now steering to a more holistic approach to the marine environment, and it is elaborating a new concept to describe the marine geospatial information. The image wants to highlight the importance of a complete and integrated knowledge of the marine environment. For example, right now, navigation world is opening to new challenges, such as the exploration of the new Arctic routes. The marine community suffers more than ever from the lack of hydrographic data. as our first explorers were suffering in the past. In general, marine knowledge concept is strictly connected with sea security, especially significant in closed basin and narrow passages characterized by an extremely high level of traffic. And safeguarding the marine environment as a contribution to maritime security is an actual need that affects the seas all around the world, and in particular closed basins like the Mediterranean Sea. So hydrography has a crucial role in this challenge, as it allows the knowledge of the environment, therefore contributing to the sea security. And in the slides you have a list, not exhaustive list, of all those activities which need of different types of usage of depth data. And this short video will show you how important is hydrography.
When we say hydrography, most people think of nautical charts and publications. It's true. Hydrographic services are responsible for the official nautical documents that are essential to safe navigation. But hydrography is also crucial for many other activities: resource exploitation, environmental protection and management, maritime boundary delimitation, national marine spatial data infrastructures, recreational boating, maritime defence and security, tsunami flood and inundation modelling, coastal zone management, tourism, marine science. In a world without hydrography, accidents at sea would be more frequent, resulting in the loss of more lives and greater environmental pollution. Rescue operations would also be more difficult. In a world without hydrography, there would be no safe ports, no safe routes, no integrated coastal management. In a world without hydrography, with frequent accidents at sea and no safe ports, shipping would decrease and so would international trade. Sustainable development would be compromised. In a world without hydrography, marine boundaries would not be accurately delimited, resulting in more litigation and conflict. In a world without hydrography, there would be no offshore installations, no underwater cables, no pipelines, no oil rigs, no fish farms, no wind farms. A world without hydrography would be a far worse place.
So thanks for the applause, and I continue for a little bit. I'm not conclude my presentation, but just to make you understand how scaring is the situation of our world, because only less than 15% of the world's ocean depths have been measured, and more or less of 50% of the world's coastal waters shallower than 200 meters remain unsurveyed, and the rest of the data used to compile seafloor maps are inferred depths from satellite observation. In fact, making a parallel with Magellan exploration, the new routes of nowadays, such as the Northern Passage, still suffer a lack of data, demanding for more hydrographic surveys and provision of nautical information. But there are a lot of international projects in place, such as the Nippon Foundation General Bathymetric Chart of the Oceans, Seabed 2030, which are encouraging the global community to join in. In fact, the General Bathymetric Chart of the Ocean GEPCO project was initiated in 1903 by Prince Albert I of Monaco to provide the most authoritative, publicly available bathymetry of the world's oceans. And the GEPCO project, now jointly overseen by the IHO and by the IOC, the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission of UNESCO, has produced maps of the ocean floor from depth measurements collected by vessels as they journeyed across the ocean. But there are also some other important activity in place, like crowdsourced bathymetry, which is the collection of depth measurements from vessels using standard navigation instruments while engaged in routine maritime operation. In the image that you can see in the slide, you can see the new Cantino map, or Padrón Real. It's called DCDB. The DCDB is the International Hydrographic Organization Data Center for Digital Bathymetry, which is a database established in 1988 to steward the worldwide collection of bathymetric data. The center archives and shares freely and without restriction depth data contributed by mariners. The IHO DCDB is hosted by NOAA on behalf of the IHO member states, and it contains oceanic soundings acquired by hydrographic, oceanographic, and other vessels during surveys or while on passage. And the maritime community, and also the scientific one, can freely contribute to crowdsourced bathymetry initiative and share the data into the DCDB. In addition, there are several other global initiatives in place. As you can see from the slide, the UN 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development Goal, the Seabed 2030, we have already mentioned, the Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, and the Paris Agreement under the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. In this context, the shortfall in bathymetric data is even more significant, as it is now recognized that knowledge of the depth and shape of the seafloor underpins the safe, sustainable, and cost-effective execution of almost every human activity on or beneath the sea. And I've already mentioned the IHO, which is an intergovernmental consultative and technical organization established in 1921 to support safety of navigation and the protection of the marine environment. The principal aim of the IHO is to ensure that all the world's seas, oceans, and navigable waters are surveyed and charted, and the mission and the vision are highlighted in the slide for creating a global environment in which states provide adequate and timely hydrographic data, and the vision is to be authoritative worldwide hydrographic body which actively engages all coastal and interested states to advance maritime safety and efficiency, and which support the protection and sustainable use of the marine environment. To date, the IHO member states are 93. The 93rd member state, the independent state of Samoa, joined the organization last September. So our community is increasing a lot. And as an increasing need for marine data is driven by the development of a sustainable blue economy, the IHO is developing a new standard concept named S100 with the aim to provide a new generation electronic nautical chart allowing interoperability with a wide range of marine geodata. In fact, this new concept will provide data beyond charts, integrating nautical charts data with compatible and interoperable data sets, carrying marine geoinformation in different domains such as oceanography, meteorology, navigational warnings, radio services, marine limits and boundaries, traffic management, etc. And the IHO standards framework is the answer to the wide need of marine data in support of decision-making in the maritime domain. And the IHO aims to support a wide range of users by developing digital products and transfer standards for the marine community. The advantage of such data sets based on the same paradigm is their mutual compatibility. For example, hydrographic data such as bathymetry will coexist on the same electronic nautical chart with many different types of information such as surface, currents, weather, aims to navigation, traffic management, marine protected areas, etc. And these four images on the slide show other examples of services for mariners that are going to be implemented. 3D bathymetry, route planning tool, berthing analysis, and under clearance. So the electronic navigation services will be delivered worldwide. And the new project S100 represents an epochal transition, as it was the transformation of a nautical chart information from an analog paper chart to a digital carrier, the electronic nautical chart. And this standard will assure interoperability of different services. Some of them are highlighted in the slide as resource planning, environmental impact, cost reductions, increased safety at sea, and scientific purposes. And the IHO decided to increase its authoritative role, gaining strength and effectiveness in a transforming scenario based on three pillars: knowledge, cooperation, and harmonization. In terms of knowledge, it is nowadays imperative to increase ocean knowledge and improve seabed mapping for global security, safety, and economic health, and contribute through the diffusion of hydrography to the blue growth as long-term in the maritime domain. In terms of cooperation, as the enlargement of the IHO is testifying, it is necessary to increase regional approach and inter-regional cooperation among the maritime community, tailor capacity building in the field of hydrography to the needs and demands of member states, and promote and maximize IHO visibility. And finally, in terms of new standards, harmonization is paramount to permit, to adopt, and implement the S100 Universal Hydrographic Data Model through a consolidated strategy and to ensure interoperability of hydrographic data. So, to conclude, centuries past and the needs of the maritime community are always the same. Need of marine knowledge to increase the efficiency of the navigation. Magellan and the other great sailors should inspire the exploration of the new cartographic frontiers that are experiencing right now their new era of exploration. On the wake of these great sailors, in primis Magellan, the IHO ultimate goal is to create a global environment in which adequate, standardized hydrographic data, products and services are provided for the widest possible use. This is the direction we are already moving forward, and this route cannot be changed. So the new era of cartographic exploration has started. Thank you very much for the attention.